Techlandia is recorded at the Central Office on the East Side in Portland. Central Office is a one stop for all your office or meeting needs. Check them out at centraloffice.com.
Hello, and welcome to Techlandia, the podcast from the Technology Association of Oregon. Don't adjust your dial. This is a special guest host. I'm Dominic Perez, the CTO for Curtiss Wright Defense Solutions and a TAO board member. I'm here on a very special episode with Reza Rejaie, the head of the computer science department for the University of Oregon. Reza, welcome.
Good morning, Dom. Good talking to you.
Yeah. Well, Reza, I've known you for a number of years, but our listeners probably don't. Why don't you start off by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself and your journey into computer science?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. My journey in computer science actually started from electrical engineering. After finishing my high school, I started my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering with emphasis in telecommunication overseas. This is in Iran at Sharif University. And after I finished my degree, I decided to pursue a graduate program at U of O and at USC. So that brought me to the University of Southern California, planning to pursue a graduate degree in electrical engineering. But then that was around 94, 95 timeframe, and internet just taking off, and a lot of exciting things happening on the computer science side. So I decided to change direction and join computer science department and got my master's and then PhD degrees. After that, I joined AT&T Research Lab in the Bay Area for a couple of years. And then through a number of twists and turns, I ended up at the University of Oregon, which wasn't part of the plan, but I'm really glad that it turned out that way because I ended up, being here for now since 2002 for 24 years. And it has been productive and rewarding experience, not to mention living in Eugene has been quite an interesting experience compared to California.
Yeah, it's beautiful down there in Eugene. Electrical engineering, that's interesting. When I talk to young folks and they don't really know what field they want to specialize in, I would like to point them to electrical engineering. I think it is a really great base if you want to branch into electrical or even mechanical or computer science or cybersecurity. It's fundamental to everything we do in technology, and you can just learn a ton and take it anywhere. Did you find that to be the case?
I completely agree with this. I think there is something about engineer training that makes you think and look at things differently. So when you go to an event with an engineer, they always think about how things work. Is this event properly organized? There is enough resources. Can people get here? Can people get out? And some of those doesn't really matter what your field is. I think engineers are built to look at things and plan for things and test things and evaluate things in a certain way. And if people are interested in that, I think engineering is definitely a career that they should consider.
That's great. So you said through just a turn of events, you found yourself at U of O and in Eugene, and 24 years there. That's quite the run. What's brought you to academia, and what's kept you there?
So I was really interested to pursue research after I finished my PhD at USC. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do research in industry or research in academia. I joined, AT&T Research Lab, as I mentioned earlier, because that was really a place with a lot of well-known figures at the time to collaborate and, do research. But it was, again, in early 2000, it was pretty clear that the funding for research at the industry is decreasing, and their activity and flexibility and freedom to do research is diminishing. So that was at the time that I started to look around, and I had a friend actually at U of O who contacted me to get some other information, and he mentioned that, yeah, we have an opening. Are you interested to come here? And I always kind of embarrassingly confessed that I wasn't sure where Eugene was at the time. I came for a visit. They made me an offer at the spot, and I accepted it. And what was interesting and at the same time scary about that decision was the fact that they did not have a program in computer networks at the time in computer science department, and they asked me to help build that. So yeah, and that was exciting, because I was building something, but at the same time it was scary because you would not have gone successfully, then it would have been a very different outcome. But thank God, with other colleagues, we managed to develop that program, and now networking and system is one of the main strengths of the department, and now cybersecurity being added to that.
That's awesome. That's quite the leap of faith. Moving to a city you hadn't heard of before, to a department that doesn't have a program for what you're looking for, but it's all worked out really, really well. That's awesome.
Right. That's
Um,
yeah.
that leads me to a question, right? The University of Oregon isn't really known as the engineering school that Oregon State is. What's attracting students there to the computer science and cybersecurity curriculum?
So University of Oregon is not known for engineering because we don't have engineering school, plain and simple. But University of Oregon is strong because of its liberal arts emphasis, and the Department of Computer Science is part of College of Arts and Science and the Division of Natural Sciences. And now, very recently, as of a couple of years ago, the Department of Computer Science with the newly formed Department of Data Science together form a School of Computer and Data Science. So I think what is interesting about computer science department in College of Arts and Science as opposed to College of Engineering is attention to a set of skills that unfortunately do not get as much attention. So teamwork, ability to present your ideas, critical thinking, ability to write clearly, ability to argue and present your ideas. And, there are a number of skills that are really central for liberal arts education, but not as much, I would say, in engineering training. And I think that would be helpful for any field, in particular computer science, at the age that if we cannot communicate our ideas, it would be hard to bring them to practice. So I think that is one of the distinguishing features that we have had. And I would also say the academic aside, living in a place like Eugene that has a really quality of life, especially for students, I think is an extra attraction for people to join this program.
No, that's great. And I'm in industry, and I talk to a lot of other folks in industry and academia, and people are always asking me what I'm looking for when I'm hiring, and it's almost never that I'm looking for someone that can write the most concise code, that knows the library du jour. I am looking for those people that can really slot into a team and pick up the challenges that are not just writing code. It's important, but being able to work with other teams, being able to champion their ideas, being able to justify the projects and programs that they want to work on to myself and to other management. So I can see how that's a really great blend that U of O can bring.
Yeah. And again, being a team player and teamwork and team project is central again in liberal art education, as you mentioned. And I think that is, yes, I agree with you. That's a distinguishing feature that many are considering as they are expanding their workforce.
Great. So you and I are both on the Oregon Cybersecurity Advisory Council that came out of House Bill 2049 a couple of years ago. That established the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence and the TSOC model for cybersecurity education at U of O and all the state universities now. But how has that changed the cybersecurity curriculum or really established the cybersecurity curriculum down there at U of O?
Yeah, so thank you for bringing this up because I think this is an important thing that I would like to take this opportunity to inform your audience. So I wouldn't say that the Oregon Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, or OCCOE, as we refer to it in short, has really changed. Well, I think it helps our cybersecurity program sort of mature up, and also connects with the community better. One of the things that I'm really excited as a member of leadership for Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, along with my colleagues at PSU and OSU, what the opportunity that the center provided was the fact that we could, first of all, connect easily with the stakeholders across the state. And that has multiple benefits. First and foremost, we get to listen to their concern, their issues, their goals, their constraints, and figure out whether and how we could be of help through different programs, advisory role, awareness, outreach, and so forth. The other thing is that we can build partnership with industry in order to make sure we have an impact. As you probably know, I'm sure you're aware of this as a leader in industry, that there is a huge shortage of cybersecurity workforce, not only in Oregon, across the US. There are reports of more than 5,000 unfilled position in cybersecurity in Oregon alone, and the number across the US is more than 200,000. And these large numbers are in a market that, you know, in many other fields, there are not many openings. So that was kind of one of the main reasons for creating Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, to make sure we are able and committed and have sufficient resources to train adequate workforce, the number that addresses these needs. And one other challenge I should say is, you train some of these, capable workforce, and they leave Oregon to go to other states. So that's why we were also keen to create connections, close connections with local industry, to make sure they, or students, connect with local industry in the form of internship or co-op early on, to build some sort of a relationship with these companies and increase their chances to stay here in the state. But as far as, back to your question, as far as the impact on our curriculum, I think this new vision, this new set of goals, help us emphasize the role of experiential learning and hands-on training much more than we did before. For example, as you mentioned, we have created Security Operations Center for training. There has been one at OSU, ORTSOC, that has been in works for now, I don't know, 6, 7 years. And then at U of O, we just established one that launched as of a week ago. And the beauty of this model is that these Security Operations Center actually provide a service to the government and state agencies at no cost. And these are entities that urgently need cybersecurity support because they don't have resources to get that. At the same time, these security operations centers are run by students who are getting training and are being supervised by professionals as they render the service. So it's a win-win opportunity, in the sense that service provided to those that need it across the state, and students get a real work environment training while they're in school. So if they take, a class of cyber operations and join this center, they're going to be participating in multiple weekly shifts, working in the center exactly the same way that they work as they were an employee. And by the end of a quarter, they have more than 100 hours of training on all aspects of, operations for a cybersecurity operations center. So I think, if I want to go back to your question, because I just kind of added so many other things, the main impact has been adding these more experiential learning elements. I mentioned SOX. There was another one called Risk Clinic, where we are training students to go do assessment of critical infrastructure that the state wanted to do but didn't have resources. We had funding now to conduct assessment of cybersecurity for more than 100 water districts. We are talking about districts that are old in their infrastructure and can be easily attacked by, say, foreign governments. And as a result, critical services are being disrupted at different corners of the state. So these programs essentially allow us to provide the service while at the same time offer valuable and unique training to our students. And the other benefit has been closer partnership with industry professionals, folks like yours who have a lot of experience, and we can basically benefit from that experience in fine tuning our curriculum, getting mentorship for our students, making sure transition of the students from the classroom to their job market is, smooth and positive. So I think it has
Yeah.
had many positive effects. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So, for those who aren't in cybersecurity, don't even necessarily know what a SOC is, I think it's summed up best as, it's a teaching hospital model for cybersecurity. And the doctors are the students, and the patients are these small towns and critical infrastructure pieces in the state of Oregon that don't have the resources to run a full scale cybersecurity group on their own. And like you said, it really is a win-win. We're providing services to areas that need it, and the students are coming out even more prepared to go into industry. So with these, this influx of cyber talent coming out of this program, and they're not out yet, but how can folks in industry, tap into this talent pipeline? I might be shooting myself in the foot here by giving the insights away how to get the best and brightest, but how can they, get tapped into internships and new grads?
Right. Glad you're bringing this up, Dom, because I think that is an issue that we have been working on. And in order to make sure programs have an impact, especially locally on industry, we need to establish that bridge between our programs and all these high schools as well as industry. So we have tried to achieve this by creating what I call the industry partnership network to connect with local industry, make sure they come to our campus, they meet with our students, they know about our programs, they can assess and comment on different elements of the program, and so forth. So this partnership basically is a win-win proposition. Actually, I always call it win-win-win because it's a win for us, it's a win for industry, and most important, it's a win for students. So the way we have been approaching this is to try to create a community of partners through newsletters, through information sessions that we have had, a few of them over the summer. And we have two industry events, one in February 11th and one in April. I don't remember the exact date, when we host companies, either locally or regional companies, to come and interact with the students if they have a position they can offer to students, if it's internship, full-time hiring, or just provide, comments to and feedback and insight, share insight with students about their CVs, about their career path, and so forth. So I think nothing replaces face-to-face meetings, and these events are meant to provide that connection. And if anyone is interested, I would love to have them contact me, and then we get them involved and invite them for these events.
Great. And we'll get our editor to put some information on that in the show notes people can look at. So I wanted to circle back. You mentioned, there's a deficit of 5,000, open roles in cybersecurity in the state of Oregon. I don't think we're going to fill that just with new grads from 4-year programs. What are some other ways that we can start filling some of those gaps? Mid-career folks, how can they pivot into cybersecurity? And even, I don't think people understand what all these positions might be, right? Media tends to portray hackers as in dark rooms, slamming Red Bull, breaking into systems. But in the real world, cybersecurity is it's diligence and change management, it's report writing, it's compliance, it's being embedded in other teams and making sure what they're doing in cybersecurity. So how can we get other folks into the cybersecurity pipeline?
So, very important question, Dom. So, you're absolutely right that the existing program, even as they ramp up, they won't be able to address the need. I want to first acknowledge the fact that there are a number of cybersecurity programs exist across the states. There are some associate degrees that are offered by community colleges, and obviously the bachelor's degrees that are offered either as a part of computer science or separately by major universities. We are taking a number of steps to make sure the capacity of this program go up, and also the ability of different groups to join this program go up. I can speak to one of those efforts specifically that addresses your question. So we have recently pushed master's degree in cybersecurity through the approval process, and we are offering that new master's degree as of fall of 2026. This degree is offered at U of O, but as you know, University of Oregon also has a campus recently established, Portland, and I'm exploring the possibility of offering this master's degree in cybersecurity at that campus as well. But how does that address or bring new groups into cybersecurity? This degree is actually intended for folks who want to change their career path and maybe now get into security. Now, somebody that has a STEM degree or other engineering degree and maybe the job market is not hot for them and they want to pivot to cybersecurity, they can consider this master's degree. And we have organized our master's degree to be what I call stackable structure. By that I mean you could come and take 2, 3 classes and you get a micro credential. If you take another 2, 3 classes, you're almost at half a master and you get a certificate, graduate certificate. And if you continue for another few classes, you have a master's degree. We are looking into making this, as far as the offering, the time, the modality, and all of that, accessible to professionals who may want upskill or may want to change their career path. So there are things like that we are doing. There are other opportunities also that we are working on offering summer training, either at OSU or at U of O, or on the policy side at PSU, for those who are already in the, professionals that are already in the field and they want to expand their knowledge on the cybersecurity and contribute in that. So there are a number of opportunities. You don't have to get a 4-year degree, as you mentioned, and there are a number of opportunities to get into the field gradually by using these resources.
That's awesome, and I'm personally really looking forward to the master's program potentially coming to the Portland campus. I've got staff that's in Portland that would be interested in pursuing that. It makes it a lot easier for people to do part time and also get in person instruction, which there really isn't full replacement for. We have all these digital resources, but being able to have a one-on-one dialogue with a professor is something that is just not going to go away in terms of value.
Yeah. And I should just quickly
So
mention that
go ahead. Yeah,
some of
yeah.
this program, like TSOC, the teaching SOC that we mentioned, we from the start we designed it in a way that it would be meaningfully accessible to somebody outside U of O campus. So I think it would be easy for us to have a branch of TSOC established the Portland campus, because I think those hands-on experiences make this degree exciting. Otherwise, people can always go learn things on their own. And I think these direct interactions on a hands-on setting, I think, would be valuable.
That's great. So, 2026, we can't have any discussion in computer science or cybersecurity without talking about AI. How is U of O treating AI in terms of not just educating students about it, but using it in curriculum? Is it being taught? Is it being forbidden? Is it cheating? How does the university see that, in 2026? And I'm sure this is changing, month by month at this point.
So, Dominic, there are 2 angles to your question. One is how we uh, react or embrace AI in general in computer science training. The other angle of the question could be whether and how we use AI in cybersecurity training. And I like to address both of those because both of them are important. So with respect to a general reaction or to AI and how it affects the students, as you said, I mean, the students can go and have all of their homeworks, projects, or even exams, if it is online, to be and get help from existing tools, which makes the learning essentially disrupt the learning process. So after lots of discussions over the past year, our department or faculty actually reached the conclusion that we want to embrace AI, in the sense that we came to a realization that these tools are here to stay. What is important is for students to not only learn the fundamentals, but also be able to use these tools in order to expand and enhance their capability to be productive. So starting this year, if you take a class at U of O, even a coding class, we actually talk about there's something called vibe coding, and there is the opportunity to use these tools. But then we want to make sure the students are aware of how to use these tools, how should double check what they produce with these tools are reliable, correct, coherent, and add up together in order to devise a solution. What the challenge is that as we go in that path, we also make sure that the students still understand some of the fundamentals and what is under the hood, so they don't become just tool users, and they're aware of some of the key concepts. So short answer to the first question is we are converting our curriculum to be AI informed or AI enhanced capabilities as we teach this concept in our classes. And as you can imagine, it changes several aspects of our many of our classes, and these changes are underway. As far as the use of AI in cybersecurity in particular, we developed specific course that focuses on best practices of use of AI in cybersecurity and network management. This course is being offered for the first time this year, actually this term, and I'm happy to report that this filled up very quickly. And this course brings some of those best practices to students, and I think employers would be really thrilled to know that we have students that are familiar with this. The next step that we have, and I like to just mention it and brag about it a little bit, if I may, is that we are building a lab next to TSOC that allows the student not only to be familiar with this concept, know how to use AI for different net cybersecurity solution, but also bring that to a lab setting and apply that to a particular problem. So there are traffic traces, there are live traffic from TSOC, and then students have an opportunity to compose a solution from existing modules and then go through the key exercise of tuning that solution to work properly. As I'm sure you know, in this domain, having a solution is one thing, having it to be tuned to not have so many false positive and false negative, essentially incorrect result, is a critical thing. And we are trying to make sure that is a key part of the learning, and we are working with the College of Ed and all that to incorporate that in the curriculum. So I think that there are some exciting development on that. I'm not sure how many other schools are at that point, but we are really excited to roll that in, and we are actually submitting a proposal to get more funding and expand that lab in the next 6 months, both in terms of pedagogy, type of training, and as well as resources and so forth. And we think that lab would be a good sandbox, good playing ground to bring the academic folks with their research solution, as well as industry folks with their proprietary solution, bring them together and have them compare and contrast the solution in a confidential setting, and we get some common practices out of that. Then we translate those into training for students. So there are a lot of interesting opportunities there as AI becomes more prominent in the field of cybersecurity, and we think this setting help us remain engaged and pass those knowledge to students.
Oh, that's great. And this is great to see the university being so adaptive to such a new topic. I'd say you're being more responsive than even a lot of industry is being. The fact of the matter is AI isn't going away. I think back to, when I was a kid and math teacher used to always say, well, you're not going to walk around with a calculator in your pocket all the time. And, look, lo and behold, today we walk around with a calculator in our pocket all the time. And, when these students graduate, AI is going to be even more pervasive.
Right, right.
Yeah, which leads me to I just got back from CES in Vegas, and AI is being crammed into absolutely everything from toasters to rings to wristbands to pens to TVs, fridges, speakers, you name it. You know, what kind of questions should, not computer science students or prospective students, but your our other listeners be asking before they invite these things into their homes and their lives?
Again, another really good question. Before I answer that, I just want to mention you talk about adapting. One of the trends that we saw recently that your listeners may be familiar with or have heard of it is the enrollment in computer science degree this year all across the nation dropped measurably this year. And the assumption by many is that this is because many families and students think that AI is going to take computer science jobs away, which is obviously not true. But we always say that AI is like a lift truck, and if the driver, the person who knows how to work with AI effectively, efficiently, correctly, are computer scientists. But in any case, one of the things we are doing in response to that is that we are adding a bachelor's degree in AI, pretty much similar to cybersecurity, that has a high dose of AI, but at its core is computer science fundamentals, and also a master's degree in AI. So that is in progress and is coming up soon. You probably have heard have about the similar news out of MIT. So this is something that is coming through our field, and I think is gonna be the trend in the future. But back to your question, what are the concerns and questions and recommendations we tell people as they incorporate AI in their life? I think there's excitement to allow these tools and toys to be part of our daily life in many ways. I think what people do not realize is how much of their privacy is being compromised as a result of exposing different aspects of their life to these tools. So if you have an account with ChatGPT and ask this question, I think it is great. You're getting all those answers, but you need to know that after 6 months, ChatGPT knows a lot about you. And this is a model, this is a program that is sitting somewhere out there with ton of information. A lot of them are private about you. So I think using these tools is great. I think we need to be aware of what we get and what we lose as we are engaging with these tools. And in my mind, privacy is the most important ones that we might be affected. We may not know the impact immediately, but sharing those information in many ways, you could think about it like sharing your credit cards or sharing some other financial or personal information, I think is important. And the second one is kind of depending on the topic accuracy of some of this information. So they always have this fine print of, hey, we provide this information, but be aware that this may not be correct. I'm not sure people pay that much attention to the fine print, and they just take the information as being facts and run with it. So I think those two, privacy being the much more important ones, are my two recommendations or comments or cautious that I share with people.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's pretty clear that this data is being harvested for use in advertising.
Right.
And it's one thing for them to know your demographics, but now you basically trained a tool on how to talk to you. It's going to use that back to sell you the latest and greatest widget.
Right.
You start inviting that into your house and taking pictures of everything that you eat. My mind just runs wild with the possibilities of what, advertisers and insurance companies and things can do with that data.
And harvested. That's right.
Yeah. So we're running up on the end of time, but Reza, you mentioned a number of programs and certificates and other things that the U of O is offering. Is there anything else that you want to give a shout out to before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to quickly share a few of the activities that we would like to engage, folks with our program, and some people are aware of this. So obviously, the first and foremost, we have the bachelor's degree in cybersecurity, and we are launching the master's degree in cybersecurity that I hope applicants out there consider applying. We have our cyber industry event in February 11th that is intended for different industry, especially local industry that we hope to join. We have a project that we take us to local high schools, and the purpose of that project that is funded by the state is to promote cybersecurity education. In the context of that project, we offer training workshop for high school teachers, both computer science and STEM high school teachers, so they can teach a cybersecurity course at their high school. We had such a workshop. It was extremely successful. We are planning to hold two more workshops. One is virtual, one is in person, to make it accessible for teachers in all corners of the state. So I hope that teachers who listen to this podcast consider applying as soon as possible. We are scheduling what we call in-school field trip to go to any high school across the state, either in person or virtual, to talk to students and promote cybersecurity education and career. Because unfortunately, we heard that many students don't even know about these opportunities, or they know how to pursue them. And I think this is a lost opportunity, especially as we are trying to expand the size and diversity of cybersecurity workforce. So we are committed to do that. As I mentioned, ORSOC and TSOC are offering these services. So any government agency, states in the state, counties, cities, districts, we are encouraging them to apply for our service by reaching out to us. And the non-credit certificate at PSU has been a very successful program for professionals to increase their knowledge of security and how it affects their job. And I want to encourage folks to also apply for that program as well.
That's great, Reza. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me today. This has been a lot of fun. And with that, I'm going to sign off. This has been Techlandia, the TAO podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's a wrap on this episode of Techlandia, the podcast, where innovation meets insight. If you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to follow us, leave a review, and share it with your fellow tech explorers. You can follow us at techoregon.org for updates and more tech-fueled content. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep building the future.